All right. Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Lori. I really do appreciate it. And yes, thank you all for stopping by today. So, without further ado, let's begin here. Let me just share my screen here, which would be the PDF link that Lori mentioned in the chat. So, this presentation is about cutting the cord. For those of you, I'm sure at some point have probably heard what cutting the cord is, but for those of you who are not aware, it's just a simple term of saying getting rid of cable television and moving on to alternatives. As we all know, especially if you live in the southwestern Connecticut region, cable is quite expensive. So, one of the reasons why people cut the cord is to one, save money with their monthly expenses, and two, there are ways to gain access to channels that maybe you don't get with cable or satellite for that matter. So, we're going to go over a couple things on how you can go about doing that. But before we do, if you follow along in the first page of the presentation, we have a couple terms here that we'll be using. And this is not an all exhaustive list, and I'll be picking through a few that may be relevant to today's presentation. So, if you can follow along on the screen, the first thing I'll talk about is an analog audio video output. So, what it says here on the presentation, they are plugs and sockets for carrying audio signal and video signal, traditionally seen in the red, white, yellow plugs seen in older video devices such as VCRs. So, in another way, kind of an outdated technology where it's just the red, yellow, white plugs, which we would use for VCRs, TVs, video consoles, whatever it may be. That's analog, meaning that it's not digital, which everything nowadays, for the most part, is digital. But we're just using that for reference. Bandwidth, it's a very important thing. So, the definition for bandwidth is the volume of information per unit of time that a transmission medium, in this case, an internet connection, can handle. In other words, the higher bandwidth you have, the faster your connection is. So, think of bandwidth as in terms of your internet speed, bandwidth is how fast your connection is, or how much, think of it as a highway, how much traffic it can take. Uh, on a good connection. So if you have a really good bandwidth, you can have a lot of information going to you to and from with no issues. So in the most part, United States compared to the rest of the world, we're a little bit on the lower end of the bandwidth spectrum. We've done better though in the past 10 years. But for the most part, if you have a cable connection with internet, should be fine. And in most cases, as we'll go down in the list, wireless as well has improved a lot over the years. Another important thing with cutting the cord is cloud DVR. So I'm kind of going to skip the definition here, but cloud DVR, in case you don't know what DVR is, that's a digital video recorder. So think of it as, in the old days, if you liked a show, you would record it on VHS, on your VCR. DVR is a digital version of that, where you no longer need a physical, maybe say a medium to store it in. Everything is stored in the cloud, which the cloud is, think of it as a virtual data, think of it like a virtual hotel. And every person who subscribes to that service has a room in that virtual hotel. So in this cloud DVR, let's put it as a hotel, any recordings that you may have are stored in your personal room in this hotel for your reference later on. DVRs used to be different, maybe about 8, 10 years ago, where you would have an actual box in your home with a hard drive where it would record things locally to the machine you have. Since then, the vast majority of companies have moved on to what is called the cloud DVR. So everything is stored on their end, and you kind of are not tethered to limits as far as how much you can save. It's just more instant access. Next word we'll go through is dongle. So here it says it's a small device able to be connected to and used with a computer or TV, especially to allow access to wireless broadband or use of protected software. Also used commonly now in the form of streaming sticks. So that last sentence is very important. A dongle, think of it as a small little device that connects to your TV or whatever other item you may have. And in the case of cutting the cord, it's usually what we allow. Let's take, for example, something called an Amazon Fire Stick would be a dongle, which is this little plug that you plug into the back of your TV, and from there it provides access to all of the services that it has. Next word we'll cover is Ethernet. Now, that is a system for connecting a number of computer systems to form a local area network within your house, mainly used to connect a particular device to the internet. So, internet works in many different ways, right? So, Ethernet is one of those ways. It's kind of not as used much anymore in most households because everything's wireless. So, the difference between Ethernet and wireless, Ethernet is a hardwired connection with a plug, and wireless would be without. So, Ethernet is always better. In most cases, it's always going to be a direct connection to the internet source, so you'll get a faster connection. So when we talk about the services later on with the hardware and the software, if you're looking to stream something or a service, Ethernet is definitely what you want to use. And yes, Andrea, going back to Ethernet, yeah, I would always recommend it as opposed to wireless. Next, very important thing is HDMI. So that is short for High Definition Multimedia Interface. It is the first industry supported uncompressed all digital audio video interface. So without going into the definition there, um, HDMI, as I was talking about before with the analog was the red, yellow, white cables. And then sometimes you would also have additional cables with a blue, a green. HDMI gets rid of all of that. So HDMI is this one cable which provides the video and audio of the thing you're plugging in. So the whole idea is to alleviate the cord you have or the clutter of cords you have at home because sometimes if you look behind your TV, it's a mess of wires, and HDMI essentially eliminates that to a degree, so things are a little cleaner, a little more streamlined. Now, going with the HDMI, there are HDMI inputs. So HDMI inputs is if you look on the back of your television, any modern television, you'll notice that there are ports, which are what you use to connect to your devices. In this case, HDMI input would be a port on the back of a TV, which you would connect, say, a Blu-ray player, an Amazon Fire Stick, what have you. Maybe with your grandchildren or nephews, may have Xboxes, PlayStations. They're all using HDMI these days. So, HDMI input is essentially a port on the back of a device. In this case, let's say a TV, which would then take that signal from that device and display it on your television. Live versus on demand. So, live is what you see on television. Let's say you watch the news, it's a live broadcast, meaning what you see on the TV is happening in real time. On demand, which is kind of how things have transitioned in the past maybe 5 years, on demand is a way of watching content, be it television shows, a YouTube video, whatever it may be, or in the case of for those who maybe watch the encore of this recording here, it would be on demand. So on demand is something that you can watch at your leisure, at your time. You're not tethered to the old, Jeopardy at 7 p.m. Thing. You nowadays you could, if you want, you could watch Jeopardy at whatever time you'd like. So that's a definite benefit of technology these days. You have the choice. Personally, I love to watch things live too, but sometimes with schedules don't allow you to permit, you can watch things at your own leisure. One important thing to talk about is this little acronym here, Mbps. So that is megabits per second. So when spelled Mbps, short for megabits per second, it's a measure of data transfer speed. And without going too technical, a megabit equals 1 million bits. So what this means is Mbps is important if you're looking for the highest quality. So let's say you're using Netflix and you want Ultra HD or whatever it may be, the higher your Mbps connection is, the more clear, the better your quality will be when you're watching things through the internet. So this is usually determined by your ISP, which is your internet service provider. In Connecticut, for example, you may have Optimum or other companies. Um, Depending on the internet plan you're with, you get a certain level of Mbps. So that's something you would definitely reference with your internet service provider, if anything. The next thing I'd like to talk about is standard definition versus high definition. So this kind of is going the way of the dodo these days, mostly because everything nowadays is kind of in high definition. But to maybe give a quick overview, standard definition is essentially what was going on before high definition was a thing. So if you had the old tube TVs, if you had a DVD player, those would be playing in standard definition, which there's nothing wrong with that. But eventually, I'd say around maybe 2003, 2004, we started seeing the oncoming of high definition, which is, in other words, it's a multiplication of the video quality. So standard definition was nice. HD was, 2 to 3 times as clear the image that you would get with high definition. And now we're at the point where if you have a top of the line television, you can get even higher than that. So um, standard definition is old. High definition is the current standard now. You'd be very hard pressed to find someone maybe who doesn't have a high definition television, but that's the difference. Standard definition is the old way, which would be 480p is the highest resolution you can get with standard definition. High definition started with 720p and has since moved on to other resolutions like 1080p, 4K, which is kind of the new buzzword now. And there's also 8K as well, but that is a little, honestly, further ahead in the future. I wouldn't give that another 5 years before that becomes mainstream. Next word here is a smart TV. So, a smart TV is a digital television that is essentially an internet connected, storage aware computer specialized for entertainment. Smart TVs are available as standalone products, but regular televisions can also be made smart through devices or hardware that enable streaming. So, a smart TV, in other words, it's a television that has the capability to connect to the internet and allow you to do different things instead of just watching TV. A smart TV, for example, would allow you to watch Netflix or Hulu, or you could watch YouTube videos on it. Or if you have a phone, and let's say you wanted to transmit what you're watching on the phone to your TV, a smart TV would allow you to do that. Next word we're going to go through is streaming. So, streaming is a method of transmitting or receiving data, in this case, video and audio, over a computer network as a steady, continuous flow, allowing playback to proceed while subsequent data is being received. So, think of Netflix. If you're watching a show on Netflix, that image that you're receiving on your television or your laptop or what have you is being streamed to your device. So traditionally in the past, people would have to download movies and videos to their device the whole way and then play it. Streaming kind of eliminates that, where it's as you're watching, it's transmitting you little pieces of that video at a time in a continuous flow so that it would eliminate the need for you to download anything. Think of it like a temporary download, and then once that stream is over, that information, that data goes back to the provider, so it doesn't stay on your end. And lastly, what I'd like to touch on for terms is Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is a facility allowing computers, smartphones, or other devices to connect to the internet or communicate with one another wirelessly within a particular range. Everyone has Wi-Fi these days, whether or not you are aware or not. It's on your phones, it's on your televisions, it's on your laptops, Chromebooks. It's, as I was talking about before with Ethernet. Ethernet was the old traditional way of connecting to the internet. Wi-Fi is within the past maybe 10 years, 15 years, it's become more and more general to the point where I think now Wi-Fi supersedes maybe a wired connection. Um, so again, it's a way where your device kind of think of it like radio waves, right? Your device is transmitting a radio wave um, from a tower that's somewhere in your city, which is providing that feed. They make a connection, and from there, you're able to access the internet for various different reasons. So this is not an exhaustive list. There, you may notice there are words that I did gloss over, mostly because they're not relevant to what we'll be talking about today. But you, again, are more than welcome to look at the list and take a look yourself. With that said, we'll move on to the next segment here. So, there are different ways to cut the cord, per se. One way to do it is with OTA. So, antennas come in many different shapes and sizes, and they all serve different purposes for different setups. So, we're going to go through a few that cover a broad range of uses, and hopefully, at the end of the day, you may find something that works for you. So, did you know that you might be able to watch your favorite television stations live right now over the internet without subscribing to cable? Many streaming services offer local feeds of channels such as ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC in select markets, but these same local stations are all available for free via an over the air antenna. So, what is an over the air antenna? Think of it with the old tube TVs, right? Is what people would call the rabbit ears. The rabbit ears is what you would use to pretty much pick up signals, radio waves, that would then uh, pick up and go into your television, which would then show television stations. So even though televisions don't have the rabbit ears anymore, they still have them. They're just inside the machine. So there's a couple different options you can go through here. We're going to go through a couple ones. First and foremost, it's actually not in this document here, but if you have a television that was released, I'd say in the past 10 years, chances are it has what is called a digital tuner built in. So, what does that mean? For those, without going too technical, the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Committee, they changed every all the radio waves that from the 50s and 60s and up until 2006. I'd like to say the uh, the transmissions that they would show for these channels were analog, as we mentioned before, analog. They have since transitioned everything to digital, meaning that in order for you to grab those airwaves on your device, you need a digital tuner or a device that translates that digital transmission into your TV. So if you have a TV that was built in the past 10 years, chances are you're fine. You could just take your coaxial cable, which is that black cable with the gold tip, which is essentially giving your feed for the transmission. You could plug it into the back of your TV, and you actually could get, let's say ABC, CBS, Fox, those channels. Now, if you wanted more channels, you do need some extra hardware. So this is what we're going to go over here. This would be antennas. So they're no longer the rabbit ears that everyone used to make fun of back in the day. They come in all different shapes and sizes now. So we're going to go over a few. So the first one we'll go through is maybe the cheapest, let's say, entry level device, meaning you're not spending a lot and it's not going to have all of the features that the other ones have, but it's a good enough starter kit. So this is the Amazon Basics indoor flat TV antenna. Usually goes for about $20. And as you can see, it's not the bunny ears. It's kind of like a flat box. So let's go over the good, the bad, and bottom line. So the good is the Amazon Basics indoor flat TV antenna is very low profile, meaning it takes up a minimal amount of space in your home. Has about a 35-mile range, so it has a good enough pull to allow you to get local channels in your area. Um, it has a reversible design, so you can actually, if you don't like the black design, you could pull it over, and it has a white interior. So again, depending on the decor of your home, you can make it match with your layout. It supports 1080i resolution, so that again, that's somewhat good, somewhat bad. Again, depending on who you are. If you're more tech savvy, that may be a little low for you. But it comes with a coaxial cable, and again, the coaxial cable is that black cable with the gold tip, so that's good. Now, for the bad for this, um, it's pretty basic. It doesn't have any extra bells and whistles. Essentially, all it does is it pulls those feeds to your home and gives you the channels. That's basically all it does. The 35-mile range works well if you are um, maybe in an area with a lot of obstructions. So anything, if you live, let's say, in the middle of a city with a lot of high-rise buildings or trees, this type of antenna may not work for you because it doesn't have the power to pull past those objects. So you also need to keep that in mind. Placement is key with any of these antennas. So in the case of rule of thumb with any antenna, you want to try to place it as high as possible. Usually near a window, because usually a window is a more direct line of sight with whatever radio waves are being transmitted. So again, at $20, it's a great device to start off with. It's basic, but again, some people all they need is basic. And again, it is Amazon, so Amazon has a great customer service reputation. So in case something goes wrong with the device or if it doesn't work for you, you can usually return it within 30 days, no issue. So definitely comes recommended for the best entry level device. Next up is the Channel Master CM4221. So this is the best mid-range device, and you'll look at the image here. It's quite a different design. This is more of a traditional antenna look, maybe something that you'd be used to. Um, so this goes for around $89, depending on where you go. Uh, Now, this, unlike the Amazon, has a much higher increase in range. So it's about 40 to 60 miles. So because of that range, you're able to pull more local channels than, say, the Amazon device would. There's also a 180-degree range span, meaning that it pulls signals from multiple directions instead of just one sole direction. So that definitely helps. It'll allow it to pull more channels from your local area. Because again, unlike cable, there are a lot of local channels that you may not be aware of that are being broadcast for free. So these types of antennas would allow you to get those channels. Also supports 1080i. Um, Definitely because of its look, it's probably not something you want to have indoors. This is more suited for an outdoor situation. So if you live in an apartment complex, this is probably not the choice for you. If you have an attic or if you have your own home, this is definitely something that might work well for you because, again, if it's outdoors on your roof, it can have a stronger pull and you get more channels. One of the cruxes here, it does not come with a coaxial cable, so you wouldn't need to supply that on your own. Um, so let's just keep that in mind. So again, for its price, it's a bit of a price departure from the Amazon, but again, the more you pay, the more in essence, more channels you get. Again, the look of it may not be for everyone, but it's an option. Now, the next device we're going to go through is the Vue TV amplified HD TV antenna. So this is what we would consider the best long range device. So at around $35, you'll notice the look of it. This is definitely an outdoor only antenna. So as you can see from its design, it's made to pull signals from a long range, and this one actually has a range of up to 150 miles. So that means you'll be pulling not only channels from your local area, but maybe from a neighboring state, let's say New York or New Jersey. Um, you may be able to get some local channels from there as well. So that's a nice perk. Um, and in addition, this antenna has a motorized rotation, so it allows you to give it a full 360-degree rotation. So that's always good to, because again, depending on where the antenna is pointing, it will get different channels from that area. It's weather resistant, so meaning if you're in the middle of a rainstorm, it is made to function with that. So that's also good. The new 2020 model includes 4K support as well as 1080p, 1080i, and 720p. This is something maybe I didn't mention before. So with these over-the-air channels, OTA, as long as you have a good enough feed coming in, you can get these channels in high definition. And the difference between, say, if you have Optimum or a cable company, those channels are always going to come compressed, meaning that you're not getting the full fidelity of what those signals are giving out. With an antenna, you do. So for those image purists out there, an antenna will give you a higher fidelity image than what you would get with a cable subscription. So This antenna has a big range, but what are the downfalls? Well, the look for one, it kind of looks like something you'd see in a sci-fi movie. Those laser beams, laser guns. Also, it's made to be outdoors. So if you have an indoor only situation, let's say you live in an apartment complex, unfortunately, this would be out of the question. So if you have a single home or a duplex or whatever it may be, this may be worth your while, especially if you're looking to get items that are from, a New York channel or what have you. The longer the range, the more channels you can get. And the last one we'll talk about is the ClearStream OneMax TV antenna. So as you can see from the image, this is the best overall device. So this ranges for about $50. So this kind of takes all of the benefits of what a classic antenna is. It kind of gives it a modern coat of paint. So this is a very minimalist design. As you can see, it's kind of circular. Has about a 40-mile range. It's very small, meaning it doesn't take up a lot of space in your home. And if people walked in, you have guests, they won't immediately know it's an antenna. So it matches with your decor. Good thing about it, it can be both indoor and outdoor. So you could hook it up outside if you'd like, or if you want, you could have it indoors. So it has that dual versatility, which is great. There's a built-in amplifier, meaning that it does kind of pull a little bit more than the 40-mile range. So you do get a little bit more bang for your buck with this one. Again, very small. So if you're living in an apartment, let's say a single unit apartment, doesn't take up a lot of space. So it's really nice. Um, the 2020 model from last year is 4K ready. So if you have local affiliates who are transmitting in that resolution, and if you have a 4K television, you could in turn get some really nice quality if you'd like. Um, the bad thing about it, and again, it's not a huge thing, but if you don't like to assemble things, the One Max is a little bit more complex because you do have to put it together yourself, as opposed to the other antennas in this list, which are kind of pre-built. But again, if you want to make an afternoon of it, nothing wrong with that. But just giving that as a heads up, if you don't like to assemble things, this may be something may prove to be a little bit of a challenge. Does not come with a coaxial cable as well, so you would need to supply that separately. Um, but for your money, the ClearStream One Max is definitely the best bang for your buck because it has a modern design. It takes up the least amount of space in your home, and it does what it's supposed to do, which is pull channels for free. So, if you're getting your local affiliates, CBS, Fox, NBC for free, pretty good deal, I'd say. So these antennas are just one way to cut the cord. This is by no means an exhaustive list of the options available. We just figured we'd give you some things to start off with and look around. So antennas are one way to get channels for free without paying a monthly cable bill. It's great. Now, again, it's not for everyone though, because some people don't want to go through the hassle of building an antenna. Um, Everyone's home situations are different. So it would just be a matter of finding maybe what situation works best for you. With that in mind, there are other alternatives to antennas, which would be streaming devices. So, streaming devices, what they are, um, think of it as well, we'll go through it on the list here. So, what do you need to have a streaming device on your device? So that you need to have a couple things. You want to make sure you have an HDMI plug or an HDMI input, as we mentioned before, on the back of your television. Again, if you have a TV made in the past 10 years, that really shouldn't be an issue. You should have multiple HDMI inputs on your TV. You want to determine if you want a DVR, which, as I mentioned in the beginning, is a digital video recorder. Um, you want to identify your shows and find the device that maybe caters the best to that option. Um, so with hardware, as I mentioned before in the beginning, with the megabits per second, you definitely want to check with your service provider for your internet. Check the plan that you're in and look at your speeds. In most cases, Even the most basic of plans should suffice in giving you a good enough connection and speed to stream a lot of content. So by no measure is this a definitive list, but what we have here is a breakdown of internet speeds. So going back to the megabits per second, you usually need a zero point 0.5 rate of megabits per second to get by. The higher you are with the megabits per second, in essence, the better you are. Um, in most cases, I'm not going to reiterate everything here, but 25 megabits per second is usually, like, let's say you're with Optimum, 25 is usually the minimum they'll offer. So you should be fine to be able to stream. So 25 megabits per second will allow you to, let's say on Netflix, you'll be able to stream an HD version of a television show or movie that you picked. And with that speed, you should be fine. You won't run into any connection hiccups or problems. You should be good. So again, you can always reference this just in the essence of our time here. I'm kind of going to move over to the next area. So in order to have a streaming setup on your home, let's break it down with this diagram here. So going back to that HDMI cable, you have your television here. And even though this picture says laptop, it could be a laptop. It could be, let's say, your nephew or grandchildren's Xbox or PlayStation. Could be, let's say, an Amazon Fire TV, which is a streaming stick. But it goes into the back of your TV through the HDMI cable. So one end of the HDMI cable goes into your television. The other end will go into the laptop or the video game console or what have you. And from there, that is going to need an internet connection. Could be wireless, it could be hardwired, which then connects it to the service that you're using. In this case of this diagram, Netflix, you watch a show, a movie, and then the Netflix will then beam that information back to your device, which then mirrors that image to your television. Um, so in essence, again, there's a couple. It's like it's a little train of devices that are all working to get what you want out of it. So in the case you want to watch a TV show, there's multiple devices doing work to get what you want. Um, I hope that wasn't too confusing, but in essence, you're using a TV to connect to something, which would then use the internet to broadcast or beam that image of whatever you asked for onto your television. So, what devices are capable of doing such a thing? So there's a couple different options. One of the most common ones is something called the Roku Streaming Stick Plus. So the Roku Streaming Stick, this is definitely the best device for your money. Tends to retail for about $50. So the Roku Stick uh, has speedy access to Roku's unrivaled collection of apps. It definitely has the most user-friendly interface around. So the colors are nice and vivid. Uh, the letters are nice and big, so it's not hard to read. As you'll notice in the image here, you have a remote and this little black stick here. If you remember when I was going through the glossary of terms, we were talking about dongles. So this is what would be a dongle. This is a little stick here that on the edge has an HDMI cord, which then plugs into your television, and then from there it broadcasts whatever information you're looking for. So at $50, the Roku streaming stick is one of the least expensive devices to stream videos from Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, HBO, Sling TV, and other online services. And the really good thing about it, in case, let's say, it's late at night and you don't want to wake the neighbors or your roommates or whatever, you actually have you can download an app on your phone, which would then allow you to listen with headphones. You can plug in your headphones to the little remote and you can listen to the show in the privacy without having to wake anyone up for your night owls out there. And also, the 2020 model includes 4K streaming. So, 4K is again kind of the new buzzword for high definition. It's the best quality you can get right now. Now, one of the bad things here is there is no Ethernet port, meaning that the Roku streaming stick works on wireless internet only. So, unfortunately, if you wanted to get the best connection with a hardwired Ethernet, unfortunately, that's not an option with the streaming stick. But again, everyone's using Wi Fi these days, so it's not a huge loss. But again, it is the best value in streaming video hardware. You really can't beat it for the price. Um, as someone, I can personally attest, I recently started using Roku in the past year, and I do find it to be the best looking uh, device as far as menus and presentation than anyone else. So I'm going to skip a couple here because we're just giving options, and there are different options for different people. So what I'm going to go right to now is the Roku Ultra. So I was talking about 4K before. So 4K as opposed to normal high definition, think of 4K as the next evolution of high definition. 4K allows you to the biggest thing with 4K versus normal high definition. 4K is all about colors. So let's say you're watching a movie about nature and jungles. If you're watching in 4K, those colors are really going to pop. So you're going to see the greens of the forest. You're going to see the vivid colors of the birds and the animals. They're going to look more lifelike than ever before. That's the one thing that 4K offers. It's much higher color spectrum and a just more of a sense that wow, I'm really there in person. This isn't a TV show. Um, so the Roku Ultra, it's more expensive. It goes for around $99, but this is meant for those who have a 4K TV. So if you have a 4K TV at home or you're looking to maybe get one in the future, you might want to consider the Roku Ultra because the Roku Ultra, much like the streaming stick, offers all of the same apps, but with the addition of 4K. So again, if you're looking to make that expense with a 4K TV, the Roku Ultra is going to be right up your alley. That way, you can ensure you get the best visual fidelity that money can buy. Um, again, once you go 4K, it's very hard to go back. So, yeah, the Roku Ultra again does everything that the streaming stick does, just with a higher resolution and prettier. Um, and again, if you made the expense of buying a 4K TV, you might as well go through with it. So again, it is more expensive, but again, it's a premium product for a premium consumer. So definitely consider it if you have a 4K setup at home. And one thing I want to go through real quick is the Roku Express. So this pertains only for the 2018 model. The newer models no longer do this. But if you want to stream Netflix and Amazon and all of that good stuff on an old tube TV, pre high definition, the 2018 model will let you do it because the 2018 model does the high definition, but it also has the red, yellow, white, uh, which is what is called composite video plugs. So if you have an older TV that doesn't have high definition, you could technically use the Roku Express for it, 2018 model only. So I'm leaving it here as an option. It pretty much has all of the same features as the streaming stick, just allowing you to use it on an older TV. You might have to go out of your way to find it because we do. If you look at the links that Lori provided at the beginning of the chat, there is a link to it on Roku's website. But I think when I checked before, it wasn't in stock, and I don't know how frequently they'll restock it. But it's something to keep in mind. Next thing is the Apple TV. So Apple TV is, Apple has taken over the world with their iPhones, their iPads, and everything. So they figured, hey, let's do the streaming thing too. So the Apple TV is it's really more if at home, if you have a bunch of Apple devices, an iPad or iPhone, Apple TV is going to work for you because you can use those devices in conjunction with what the Apple TV does. Um, if you don't have Apple devices at home, this probably isn't for you, unless you really like that minimalist, shiny Apple sheen that they give for everything. But the Apple TV allows you to same thing, get um, movies, television, other apps, but with an Apple look. So it is expensive. It's about $179 for a 32 gigabyte model and about $199 for a 64 gigabyte model. So gigabyte just means storage, meaning how many things you can hold in there in its memory. Um, but again, this is really more for Apple users. I wouldn't really recommend this if you don't have any Apple devices at home. If you do, though, the Apple TV might make it easier for you to say, let's say you have company over or you want to beam a video from your phone to the TV. If you have an iPhone, the Apple TV would make it easier for you to do that. But again, Apple always comes at a premium price. So just keep that in mind. And we'll also go through the Amazon Fire TV stick. So this is, I think everyone's heard of this at some point. It's kind of the number one or number two solution here. So Amazon has been doing this for quite a couple of years, and you'll notice here, just like the Roku, it's a little dongle. So you plug that into the back of your TV, and same thing with the Roku. These things all do similar things. They allow you to access movies and TV shows through the internet. And Amazon's option usually costs you around $40. There also is a 4K version, which goes for 50. Um, and same thing, Amazon has its own look with the device. May not be for everyone. It's not as pretty, I would say, as Roku, but same thing. Amazon allows you to get Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Sling TV, a whole plethora of software to allow you to stream media. And the really cool thing about the Amazon is if you have an Amazon account, you can link the device with your Amazon account. So that way, you don't have to worry about passwords or anything like that. It's all built into the device with your account. So unlike the Roku, the Amazon, even when you order it from Amazon, it'll ask you, "Hey, do you want us to link it to your account?" And when you receive the device at home, when you plug it in, it'll all be set up with your account automatically. So it's a very user friendly device in that way. Um, it depends on if you like the look of Amazon or if you prefer the look of Roku. Really, at that point, I have both. I like the Amazon, but I also like the Roku. So it really depends on what it is. It was more of a case before where maybe one device would offer things that the other wouldn't. But in the past couple months, things have been catching up, and they're getting very similar. So you really can't go wrong with either one. Again, if you use a lot of Amazon at home, Amazon Fire TV might be more worth your while. And lastly, I'll go through quickly the Google Chromecast. So this little round dongle. It's very different looking than maybe the Roku and the other devices. So that, again, this plugs into the back of your television with the HDMI plug. So the Chromecast allows you to, this isn't really, say, a competitor to the Roku or Amazon. The Chromecast was more of, it's a way to broadcast content from your phone or your laptop to your television. Uh, so let's say you're watching a YouTube video and you were thinking, I would love to watch this on the big screen as opposed to my little phone. The Chromecast would allow you to do that. Much easier than say an Amazon or Roku would. So the Chromecast, again, it's cheap, goes at about $30. There is a new upgraded model that they released last year, which is called Chromecast with Google TV. That goes for about 50. So that model is the more similar to the Amazon Fire TV and the Roku. But if you're getting the standard Chromecast, it's more the actual device itself, the round device, doesn't include any software. Really, all it does, it just allows you to beam content from your phone or your laptop to your television. And with that, so again, those are just a couple options with streaming hardware. There are a lot of options, but these are definitely the ones that stand out the most. And really, depending on what you're looking for, there may be one of these that fits your particular situation. And what we're going to go through now is, I would like to say, the meat and potatoes of the cutting the cord. This is what 99% of people look for with their device. And this would be the streaming services. So, as I mentioned, Netflix, Hulu, these are all streaming services. So, these are providers who allow you to stream services to your device, let's say an Amazon Fire TV or a Roku. So, This is not an exhaustive list, but new providers are essentially being added every day. Even when we were initially going to do this presentation, we had a list, and I had to update it because there have been other providers and services that have shown up since then. So this is again not an exhaustive list, but just a uh, a sampler of what's available. So each provider offers a different spectrum of content. Some focus on maybe, let's say, for example, this first one here, Acorn TV. This is for fans of British television. So Acorn is their focus. It's usually $6 a month or $60 for the year. So if you love British television, Acorn TV is probably for you. Includes TV dramas such as A Place to Call Home, mysteries such as Endeavor, and comedies. So a lot of these shows you will not find on maybe say Netflix or Hulu or Amazon. You will have to get Acorn for that. So again, if you like your British television, Acorn is definitely for you. Next up, we have Amazon Prime Video. So Amazon has been doing streaming for a little while. They competed with Netflix initially, and over the years, Amazon has kind of become a big name in streaming. So you'll notice the price is high. The reason why it's high, it's 119 per year. The reason why that is if you have an Amazon Prime account at home where they send you, free shipping for 2 days, the Amazon Prime Video is included in that yearly subscription. So you're not really paying extra for it. It's included in that yearly Amazon Prime pricing structure. If you don't have Amazon Prime, you could get it for about $13 a month. Um, so, what does Amazon Prime have? It has a vast selection of movies, television shows, and shows that are original and exclusive to Amazon, such as The Boys, which is a very popular superhero show, and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is a comedy. They also exclusively have Downton Abbey and The Americans, which is kind of like a spy espionage thriller. And with Amazon Prime, you can add additional services such as HBO, Showtime, and other channels with fluctuating prices depending on what it is, usually around $9 to $15 per month. So, again, if you have Amazon Prime already on your account, you might as well take advantage of the Amazon Prime Video. It does have quite a lot to offer. And Hulu, Hulu is a big name as well. So, the big thing about Hulu is a big alternative for those who want to cut the cord. It does have shows from ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. The big difference is with Hulu. Um, the one caveat there is you can't watch it. Let's say a show debuts normally Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. The thing with Hulu is it allows you to watch it 24 hours after it airs on normal television. So Hulu's great for those of you who want to get your broadcast networks, but it also has a selection of movies. They also have what is called live TV. So that's an additional option where you can get additional channels such as Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, Fox News, TNT, TBS. So that is kind of an all-inclusive option if you want. If you want to eliminate the cord completely, you could go Hulu. The difference with Hulu, again, though, with most of those shows, you do have to wait 24 hours after they air. But again, it's a really, really nice all-encompassing option. Next up, this is a recent one, HBO Max. So HBO has had traditionally other services before. Um, but this is their newest one. It's going for $15 a month. So this allows you to get all of HBO's television shows, all of their movies. So if you like Game of Thrones, if you like Chernobyl, HBO Max is the only place you could watch it. And actually, one really cool thing that we did not mention here, and this is a recent development. So with COVID, a lot of movie theaters have been suffering. So HBO Max actually made an announcement a couple months ago that all of the Warner Brothers movies for this year, 2021, that would be coming out in movie theaters are going to debut the same day they come out in theaters on HBO Max. So if you want to watch, for example, Christmas, Wonder Woman 1984 was a big movie that came out in theaters. You could watch it on HBO Max exclusively. And they're also going to allow you to watch movies this year, such as the upcoming Tom and Jerry movie, Godzilla versus King Kong, Dune. So these are movies that, let's say they come out in theaters in July, it'll be out on HBO Max for you to watch from the comfort of your home, included in the price. So that's a huge, huge deal, especially if you love movies. And AT&T Now, so that goes for about 55 to $80. So this used to be called, it was a DirecTV service. So DirecTV was satellite television. So essentially, it's the satellite experience with the broad range of channels that you get with a satellite connection through a digital internet provider. So you get about 45 channels for $55 a month, or you can additionally get an extra bunch of channels with HBO Max for about $80 a month. So this is region limited though, so there may be areas where you might not be able to get this. This might be something you need to check online to see if it's available in your area, but it is an alternative. And next, Netflix. Netflix is the big dog. Netflix has been around, since before time, it seems. So Netflix is the king of binge, and binge meaning you watch a show all day, and before you know it, you've gone through 15 episodes without blinking an eye. Netflix started that whole trend. So Netflix usually is $9 a month for standard definition video. There's a $14 tier, which gives you HD video. And then there's a higher tier, $18 a month, which gets you 4K and allows you to watch on four different devices. So Netflix pretty much goes without any explanation. You have shows like Stranger Things, which are huge hits. Orange is the New Black. There's a recent show called Queen's Gambit, which revolves around chess, I believe. Very, very popular show. There's a whole slew of movies on Netflix as well. So Netflix is king. Um, you definitely want to have Netflix if it's kind of the big dog. Um, but the good thing about Netflix is it has a wide gamut of content. There's content for children, for adults, television, there's movies, animated television, pretty much you name it, Netflix has it. So they're definitely a big name in the streaming world. Uh, Also, there's Apple TV. So Apple also dipped their hand into streaming services with offering exclusive content. So Apple TV, the television shows you see on Apple TV are available only on Apple TV. Can't get them anywhere else. So Apple TV is $5 a month. If you do buy a Apple product, usually an iPad or iPhone, you will get a year of Apple TV for free. So again, this is really more for people who have a bunch of Apple devices at home. It just the look of it matches everything else that Apple does. But again, they have exclusive shows. They don't have movies, but it's all shows, and they're exclusively on Apple. So, um, you know, I would look into it and see if it's something worth your while. Um, it's only been around for about a year, and it really you kind of have to do your research to see if the shows that they offer are of interest to you. But it's an option. And lastly, I'll go over Disney Plus. Disney Plus is another big name, started about last year. So Disney Plus is about $7 a month, which equates to about $70 a year. Um, you can bundle it with Hulu, and that's usually about $13 a month. So what is Disney Plus? Well, back in the day, Netflix had all the Disney stuff. So if you wanted to watch, let's say, The Lion King, you'd watch it on Netflix. But now that Disney has their own service, you need to get Disney Plus to watch anything Disney. So that means Lion King, Lady and the Tramp, 101 Dalmatians, any of their classic animated movies are only on Disney Plus. In addition to that, they've also added all of the Star Wars movies, also all the Marvel movies. So obviously, if you have grandchildren or nephews, chances are they're huge into the Avengers and Hulk and Captain America. If you want to watch all of those movies, Disney Plus has them all. So it is your only place to watch those movies. It's kind of an all-in-one. If you love Disney, if you love Star Wars, if you love Marvel, It's all in there. So, they just started off about a year ago, but they are doing really well. And usually, some companies do offer Disney Plus for free. So, I believe Verizon. I think if you buy certain phones, they offer Disney Plus for free as well. So, look into the different bundles going on. But if you have grandchildren or nephews or nieces, I would definitely say Disney Plus is a must if you want to if you want to go with the streaming devices. Um, and again, it's available on a wide range of devices, not just smart TVs. And again, this is something I should reiterate for all of these streaming services. Um, Most of them are available on smart TVs. They're available on, let's say, an Xbox or a PlayStation. Amazon Fire usually has all of these. It may not have one or two, but in most cases, these are available in all of these providers. YouTube TV, it's usually about $65 a month. So YouTube TV, much like Hulu, it's a total alternative to TV. So if you want to fully cut the cord with YouTube TV, it offers you 85 channels or so, which gives you a wide gamut. It'll give you your broadcast network, so that's ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC. You also get your sports. You get Major League Baseball, National Basketball Association, um, and I believe there's soccer as well. You also have cloud DVR, which allows you to record shows. You can watch them at your own leisure. So it's a total alternative to getting a cable television service. Um, so look into it. There's quite a few channels that they offer, and yeah, that's just a sampling. You'll notice that I did cut over a few options just in the interest of time. But when you break it down, we went through three different alternatives. There's the antenna situation. If you want to do that, if you want to have an antenna in your home to pull channels for free, again, for with an antenna, outside of buying that antenna, whatever channels you get are free of charge. So you would not be paying for those. Once you start going to the streaming hardware, which was the second thing we went into, these are things that it's kind of piecemeal. Let's say you get Netflix, you would be paying that monthly subscription or the yearly subscription for it. And same thing with number three, which was the streaming services. So they kind of work hand in hand, but there's a lot of options, I know. And I apologize if this was a huge information dump. There's a lot of options, but the best thing I could recommend is shop around, do your due research, and obviously you can look at this document here at your own leisure. Everyone has a different situation at home, and there is usually one or two alternatives that work best in your favor. So find the one that works for you, and you could definitely save yourself a ton of money. Instead of spending $300 on a cable subscription, you could instead be paying 100 or less, um, and getting
And
the
with
same
that
content.
good news, Aldo, thank you so much. There's two questions that I want to, one is the antenna. Does each TV need its own antenna if you're going to go that route?
So it depends. As I was saying before, if your TV was built, I would say 2008 or more recent, you kind of don't need an antenna. If you're looking to get just, let's say, CBS, ABC, Fox, NBC, you'll be fine just plugging in that coaxial cable to the back of your television. Now, if you're looking to get, specific local channels, like for example, my father is huge in the westerns. So there's a local channel in New Jersey called Me TV, and they play Bonanza, Gunsmoke all day. If you want that, you would need an external antenna to get that signal from New Jersey.
Excellent. Okay. And if you get HBO Max at $15 a month, do you also need to purchase HBO for another amount each month? Or does HBO include everything?
Yeah, so
Include
that's a
everything.
good question. So if you don't subscribe to HBO, let's say like for example for me, um, I actually do have cable. Full disclosure, I haven't cut the cord myself just yet, but I have HBO with, let's say, Optimum. And because I have HBO on my plan, I can get HBO Max included for free. So if you
Gotcha.
already pay for HBO through your cable provider, all you need to do is go to hbomax.com and then you could sign in using your provider. So it would ask you, hey, do you have Optimum or do you have Dish or whatever it may be? You would then log into your account for that, and then you'd get HBO Max for free. Now, if
Excellent.
you
Well, I
don't have
want to thank
HBO
you
Max.
very much for taking the time to do all of this, this
Oh,
information
no, no, no worries, and
a
but,
lot.
yeah, I
So,
just wanna clear that up with HBO Max, if you don't pay for it normally, then yes, it would be 15 a year. If you
yeah.
already have it with your cable plan, it's included.
Okay, so please know, as I stated in the beginning of the program, that all of this information is available on the website already. If you go to norwalkpl.org and go into the events to today's calendar event, I have linked it in where you found the Zoom link and the registration link and everything like that. If all else fails, please feel free to email me. You all have my email from the reminder I sent out. Or you can just call us and ask for Lori. I'm the only one here and you can get me directly there. Okay. So everyone take care. Thank you so much for attending.
Yes, thank you so much for
Yeah.
stopping by. I hope that at the very least, this information can give you maybe some ideas as to where to look and where to shop around for finding what you're looking for. There's a ton of options, and hopefully you'll find one that works for you.